Start recording. So, hi.
Hi.
And
hello.
This is a special call. We've got our moderator of Unity of Strength, Mohamad, on here on this call. And he's going to be talking about his own very interesting experiences. Some of you might be familiar with his posts to our forum, Unity of Strength, where he talks about what it was really like to grow up in Lebanon and come to the US and experience all different things. And he has his own perspective that's very interesting about what that's like. He's also started a lot of businesses, some of which were quite successful. And we're going to be learning about those and how he did it. We're very lucky to have him on Unity of Strength. He is originally from Palestine, so he can talk about that. And he writes very important and interesting things. In addition, he is a technologist, he's a computer programmer, and we work on our Unity of Strength website, which has been released. More features periodically are coming out. And the website has links to all of our online platforms. So we're going to have Mohamad take it from there. And you can leave messages and questions and comments in the chat for now, the rest of you. And eventually we will turn the recording off and have a more open conversation. But right now, what I want to ask, we'll start with how did you get into business? What was it about your upbringing that got you interested in business?
Well, sometimes there's one advantage of being a Palestinian, and that's rarely taken advantage of, but you'll notice many Palestinians are actually successful. On the other side, they could be militants. And that's the only two choices we have. How? Because when we started, when we were young, actually UN and other organizations did offer free education and free healthcare, which for the time, it was very important to us. On the other hand, no one in the refugee camps or spots could actually take a job. It wasn't like, I'm not going to say not permitted. Some people, don't care about it, but legally it's not allowed. They wouldn't hire you. You're not allowed technically to really work under legal conditions. And when you're surrounded with that, and maybe I'm jumping to different stories, but it has to be that way. When you have no choice, you're gonna get an offer for $300 or $400, for example, to join one side of the militias and carry a gun, protect your community. On the other hand, you have the other choice if you decide, and that's really difficult. But if you don't want to carry arms, you have free education at the time, so you have to go through with it. Until 1995, I think, suddenly all the communities and that was supporting most of the financial aid and education, especially for universities, withdrew. Actually, when I had to start university at 1996, that was exactly the term I was, hey, no more financial aid. So I couldn't actually support it. So I had to go. I didn't want to stop education. So I went to self-education. So just started reading, started following up stuff, and did some many different kind of jobs, from, I don't know, I can't remember to list them, but say in a bakery, in a car wash, in a mechanic shop, etc., etc. Until I started with, I started in a network cafe. It used to be very popular. The first thing that went popular about computers. So around 1999.
A long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. 1999. So that's when I started. Hey, I think I'm good at this. I started reading, doing some basic stuff, especially with Windows 95, 97, 98. That was the thing back then, before Windows 2000, which was the great advancement. So from there, I got stuck in the technology world, and started advancing everything that comes in. I had to learn it. Started my job doing freelance things, and it used to pay well. Plus, being a freelance, and I didn't have a Palestinian accent, so no specific racism or no specific. I'm not saying everyone is racist, no, but it could come in your way a lot. So being a freelance, having some profession that was, in demand at the time, and the bubble was in the Middle East, in Lebanon specifically, the financial scheme was like, hey, this is the top at the time. So we used to charge well, get paid well. That was a very good start to, it changed the course of my life.
Wow. So in what way did it change the course of your life?
Sorry?
In what way did it change the course of your life? Tell us more about that.
Having options. That's the most important thing. You could be successful, you could screw up, you could learn, you could work, you could do anything. Many people would blame you or, congratulate you for doing what you're doing. But let's go on the blame part. They would blame you because you had options according to them. As I said, in our situation, we only had two options. Even if we jump ahead to 2005 specifically, I did have the environment changed. Everyone knows a bit about computers, so freelance jobs weren't in demand as much. So I did have to turn at the time to work with PLO, and they started opening embassies. They called them embassies, weren't official embassies at the time because, there's no official Palestine, but the authority. But they still called it a Palestinian embassy in the Arab countries. So I did try to work with them for, I'm going to say 5 to 6 months. And that made me learn much, much more things that made me sure of my other choices. And the people that say, for example, the idea about change from within, that's an illusion.
So what were some of the things you saw when you were working for the PLO?
Well, first thing, as I said, if you go back 10 years before that time, when I said about 1995, when AIDS, financial healthcare, everything stopped paying well. Let's say healthcare, it used to be covered 100%. You're a refugee, you can't pay, you don't have insurance, someone has to take care of you. And that stopped. And after 1995, it didn't completely stop. You have to go in line at your offices. You have to beg some people, know some people. It could be anything from 10% to 20% of the room charge. Everything else you have to pay. So technically, if your bill is like $12,000, you could get maybe $2,000. But still, you have to get $10,000. And at the time, it was. I know that because we had a similar experience. So 10,000 at the time would be like a huge number. We're talking 2000, 2001. So who else did offer something? PLO and sub-organizations of PLO. PLO is not one organization. And that's what everyone generalize and say, hey, we're talking about PLO. PLO had, let's call them lieutenants or generals. under Yasser Arafat. And after, everyone claimed to have his own division. Say you had like military 10 or 12 divisions. So every boss decided that, hey, he should be the legit heir to the situation. So some camps have their, their own leader. They don't really listen to a higher leadership. And those leaders, of course, they wanted to grow some popularity from the money they actually get to financial aid. And so they did offer another 10%. So you also have to go kiss some hands and, get that other 10% somehow. And that's where you get to know them. If you're good, you might get recruited. Even if you're not, you could get recruited. That's something. So jumping back to when I said worked with them, I saw that they actually were still getting, I don't know from where, but as I said many times, you and other donations, other collections, funds were collected by Arabs, paid to these organizations. It came in huge numbers. You would think that it would cover a lot of problems. At least we're not talking, we're talking about humanitarian things. Instead, you could see weapons, but still, yeah, there's weapons, but you don't get healthcare. So what do you do? Heal a wound with a bullet doesn't work. So the money that came in, it used to go in, let's say, small example, fake salaries. Say you're getting paid $500 in an embassy or the location. It's recorded to the accounting for maybe 2,000. You wouldn't know. The employees wouldn't know that. But as I said, when I got recruited, I got recruited for my tech expertise. So I installed networks. I had access to faxes, emails, correspondences. So I saw numbers way more than we used to get. Specifically, like they could implement the idea, hey, we're doing some good, so you feel like you have to donate something of your time, you're part of something to fix stuff. So having a small salary or hourly fees or whatever would be, hey, that's a good thing because I'm still donating. I'm happy to donate my time and help fix the situation. Apparently you're not. Apparently you're doing your time, you're getting paid for your time, but someone else is collecting the payment. That's one of them. But this is the most important one. What else do small stuff, helping here, fixing paperwork, priority for nepotism or stuff like that. Of course that exists, but we're talking about the main stuff. The major funds weren't ever going to the correct people.
So who are the major funds going to?
Leaders, if you call them leaders, but people in charge. Just look at, if you follow the news, just look around you. Name one high positioned leader or someone on a political chair since a while, whether it was PLO, Hamas, Jihad, or something. Do you know how much real estate or companies they have? If not in their name, you have to follow their sons, families, stuff like that. You'd find billions. Billions, technically, I'm not exaggerating. Billions is like minimizing the situation.
Wow. So, yeah. So how typical would you say the PA is of organizations in Palestine in terms of where the money's going?
What do you mean, how typical?
Meaning
of what I described?
Yeah, what you described. how typical would you
Same
say?
thing, exactly the same.
Yeah.
It
So,
grew, it's now more sophisticated. It's more sophisticated. Now there's no direct bribery. There's nothing called you go and pay someone like, hey, this is bribery, you can record it. Things doesn't work that way. Which leads me to like if you want to combine the two subjects, this is how you become successful in business. You have to understand how things work. You have to have a good PR, public relations, good connections, because in Arabic they call them the keys. They are people. A key person is someone who actually collects payment on behalf of someone in authority. So you want to connect, let's say, with a politician, with a judge, with someone in a high commerce position, someone who has to sign something for you. You cannot go directly to him and offer that money, most probably, unless he's not that high chair. But in most high position cases, you have to find that key person, give him the money, give him your demands and what should be done, or give him at least a payment of goodwill. Then, you get your stuff done, you pay the rest of stuff. And this is how sophisticated everyone in authority did. They have businesses, and say you want to grow a business and you need some sort of license. They are corrupt, they do whatever they want, but we can't. If they want to build a building, they will do it. They don't need permits for themselves. The police, which they run, won't come and do, quality control on their, on the tasks on the ground. But if you want to do it, yes, you're gonna get security checks, electrical checks, water checks, whatever, everything that sounds so fancy and that you're in like a first world country. Hey, you're gonna have to do all quality assurances. But it's not really about quality assurances. These people just come in to do checks that you will fail unless you find that key person, pay him, and suddenly all the Q&A is done.
Yeah. So Ian has a very interesting question here. I wonder how this unequal redistribution of funds is the same or different from Middle Eastern states in general.
Sorry?
So how would you say that this redistribution of funds compares to other Middle Eastern countries that you've encountered?
It's same thing. I never saw a difference, maybe a little difference on who's in control and who, it's not usually one person. You could never know actually that this person is paying his guys or the whole cabinet or distribution. As I said, you deal with key people. These key people will have, you see the after effect. You will see all of them are getting more money. Nothing goes to state funds. The budgets are low, the taxes are low, the tax income are low for them, but people actually pay taxes. They don't pay it directly, you pay everything in half. Look, the idea is when you do a corrupt regime, it's not about it doesn't work alone. People must be corrupted as well. Even if they are not corrupt, they have to be corrupted. How do you do that? You eliminate that chance they can do things legally. Like, I'm gonna go to that example again. You're a normal person, you want to build a small apartment, you even own the land. You have to do all the quality checks. Imagine the quality checks you do in the USA. Someone gotta check the land, water, sewage, electrical, everything. But if you have things correct, you're gonna get the permits. In the Middle Eastern countries, usually you do not get the permits. You cannot. You're a normal person. You have to bribe someone. So you get stonewalled all the time. Go do this paperwork, sign it. Every paperwork have to be signed like from 10 people in each department. There's a lot of bureaucratic work that's put in place specifically to make things very hard. So what do you do next? You have to fix your stuff. You have to go pay someone a bribe, and eventually you think, hey, I'm just, I have to do my stuff. You think you're not corrupted, but you are. I was corrupted, and if I wasn't, I wouldn't be successful. Simple as that. I cannot sit with you here, pretend, hey, you said I had a successful business, I had things done. Of course. How did I do that? By being corrupt, like everyone else. But the only difference is the ending of the story. We'll get to that later.
Okay, so I got another very interesting comment. Corruption is the policy in the Middle East, unluckily. Yeah. So how would you say you got out and went on a different path? What happened there?
At first, I did, as I said, at first, I went to the money path. Look, I did have good intentions, but there's a saying, I'm going to try to translate it. It says, path to hell is paved with good intentions. So you could have good intentions, do something wrong, it doesn't clear you. You still go to hell because you still did the bad things in the name of good intention. I did that. Many people did that. But sometimes, as I said, you have to choose between lesser evils. You have to do some business, accept corrupted methods. Like I had to build a bit. I needed, for example, if I, as a refugee, legally, if I wanted to just start a business, I would have to pay a deposit, a security deposit as a foreigner, specifically as a Palestinian. As I said, there's many laws you wouldn't know about. They are set to make you fail. I had to pay 100 million Lebanese. It used to be, until the crisis, $66,000 to start. It doesn't matter if it's small business or big business, just to be someone who signs on a business permit, like LLC. Aside from the LLC fees, LLC itself, if you read my guide to the mob, I put the LLC itself, you need to have a physical location. You cannot use your home for it. You have to pay a lot of stuff. As I said, bureaucracy takes place. So you have to pay stuff. What did I do? I didn't have that money to start with. I mean, I was broke. If I have 66K to just a security deposit, that wouldn't make me a startup. That would make me a rich person doing a business. So you have to go with someone, a Lebanese partner, someone who knows someone, or someone who's, you put someone in authority, like he's Lebanese, he can sign papers, and you're the shadow. And this is what I did until 2012. Each time I built like 6 successful businesses. Each time, after it went up and running, I was kicked out. And of course, I have no power. Until I found that trustworthy partner in 2011. I did have ideas, but you couldn't do it. So I had to do it with someone. Someone else would take the credit. And most of them didn't continue. They technically failed, but at the time, kicked me out, sold it for some money. They did make some money of it, but the whole project didn't last. So what was the exact question? Yeah. Sorry, I keep drifting. It's very complicated. You cannot say, just answer one thing without going into details about how you reach that point.
Okay, so you could start by talking about what were some of the specific businesses that you started.
Everything in the first 8 years, let's say up to 2011, as I said, most of the businesses were computer related, programming related, building websites. Used to do websites in a day before things were accessible. Like, yes, right now you have WordPress installation, for example, you could launch a website in a couple of hours. Back then, it wasn't that easy, but I did have my own packaging. Let's say I do the program, fix it, do all the options. It's like building bundles. I took whatever they call it. What I did, it's in the technical terms, it's called hacking. Not like there's different meanings of hacking. Hacking the, bypassing stuff. And there's hacking the actual meaning, which is using 2 or 3 or 4 different solutions to create another solution from already based solutions. And that I did a lot. I created plugins that there was software, vBulletin software. It used to be very popular. It's a forum software. I used to build plugins, got me some recognition, and got me some, open source work, jobs, online jobs, stuff like that. So mostly internet work, programming, creating plugins, add-ons, different ideas, scraping before web scraping was a thing. Stuff like that, making, creating solution that used to cost thousands and replace it with a solution that could go for hundreds.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So would you say that that was your most successful business? Or would you say that there were others that you did better at?
Actually, as I said, all these businesses I started, I made some money, I lived on. Like, I had my food on the table. I did have a fine life, but it didn't get me riches. The actual profitable businesses came after 2011. When I started working in sports betting solutions, casino software, Forex software, stuff like that. It was known in the Middle East, of course, but it's not legal. That's one. Even creating the software, which is legal, and this is one huge difference between Israel and all the Arab countries around of it. Gambling is illegal in the Middle East, including Israel, right? But Israelis are publicly allowed to actually, invent the software, create the programming, the coding behind it, whatever. That's legal. And one of the, not one, actually many of the most successful companies in the world are actually Israelis, although they don't say they are publicly. We'll get to that. On the other hand, in the Middle Eastern countries, just saying you're in a business that's related to gambling, whether it's anti-gambling, gambling, it's a software, it's not even gambling, that's a taboo. But still, it pays well because everyone wanted that software. Everyone wanted solutions like that. So I started partnerships with at first with some companies. I had the pleasure of challenging one CEO that if I bring enough traffic, he's gonna fund me to do my own white label at first. And technically, I launched the first Middle Eastern sports betting and casino website. Of course, I couldn't advertise it. Advertising that would technically make me doing something illegal. But as an accomplishment, I did launch and register and fully operate the first sports betting website in the Middle East.
Wow, congratulations. Yeah. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So during that experience, what would you say was your experience with Israel and Israelis? When did you first encounter them? What were those encounters like?
Actually, around then. That's specifically when I started meeting Jewish people. Then by default, many of them were actually Israelis. And that's okay. At first, it was fun. I met a lot of them. We talked about situations. Everyone was open-minded. It was good. I could, if I wanted to highlight, of course, I could take one or two examples that, hey, I'm Palestinian, done. They don't want to talk to me. It happens. But that's the exception, not the rule. And same thing for Palestinians. Sometimes, hey, this is Israeli or Jewish, done. About Jewish, Israeli, Zionist, Masonic, those terms, I told you I had it one time in a post that the media uses all of them in one in one concept. They all mean Jewish to everyone, or Israeli. So that's another media problem, but it's intentional, definitely intentional. You can't be educated and use all the terms to mean the same thing. But once you repeat it, that's everyone relating to Israelis. So it's kind of done. Another rule, I had to keep all my acquaintances, friends, or whatever you want to call them, the Jewish people I meet, you couldn't actually say it out loud. There's some laws that they are not really applicable until they need them to be applicable. You cannot actually interact with an Israeli. That's called, if they want to do it, they can take it up to treason. Now you say, hey, why? You could be talking about anything. You could be talking about football, but they could accuse you're doing a cover, but you're actually building a relation, selling information. They could, fabricate anything for you. And it's actually part of the law. I didn't know that until I was charged with it. There's a law actually that says you cannot have a connection or even deal business. And this is funny. If they use it, it breaks all the relationships, actually all the businesses. They cannot even work with a company that has a Jewish or Israeli employee in high position, which is ridiculous, because technically, if you want to apply that, of course, I can find you some Israeli in Microsoft, some Israeli in Samsung or in Apple or whatever. So what do? You break all your relationships because of stupid law? No, this law, as I said, as other laws, exists specifically to stop some people from working. While if you're in power, they do all the businesses. No one can stop them. They actually want you to go to them and say it out loud, so you can, add a partner to your company. So you pay them and they take a share. Nothing is really illegal. It's only illegal until you go into partnership with them. So back to relationship with Israelis. As I said, started knowing people back then, 2011. And actually, a while after that, I was actually between impressed and confused when I started going, let's call it a little higher on the ladder, or being a little more successful. So I started meeting more of the company CEOs, or they lead me suddenly to the owners. The owners happen to be Israelis. And most of the time I found most of the controlled software in the Middle East was Israelis, which when I jumped to Forex businesses, and some part of software also were operated and ran by Israelis. And this is a lucky coincidence, because, as I said, everything that's illegal and unallowed for people like me to work with, Forex was a very, very popular thing in Lebanon. And there's technically 10 licensed companies, which no one really works under the licensed trading platform, which is real. Everyone likes to play the Forex thing. Forex is actually gambling. It's not really, you're not really buying any asset. You're gambling on the asset movement. and the owners are Israelis. And the most popular runners of the show are actually people who are backed up by Hezbollah, which brings to a very weird contradiction. But as I said, when it comes to money, best friends. So I guess in my analysis, of course, the Israeli wouldn't care. Hey, I'm selling the software, I'm making 10 to 12% on every transaction. But they actually are dealing the white label. You cannot do a white label without signing with a company. So the white label owners in Lebanon, specifically the ones, as I said, the most popular ones are actually backed up by Hezbollah, and they run it in collaboration, of course, with the Israeli companies. Another extension of that went into Gulf markets. In Gulf markets, the Islamic law prevails. In Gulf markets, saying Forex or gambling is, of course, illegal. And not just illegal, haram also, like religiously unallowed. You can't gamble in religion. And you know that. It's also not allowed in Judaism or for the fact in any religion. But how did they change that? And it became very, very popular. And this is, I don't know who actually came up with that idea, but they called it tadawul, which is, tadawul means trading. Everyone promoted that. All the Forex platform in the Middle East, I'm talking Saudi Arabia, Emirates, Kuwait, Oman, every place, Jordan, it was called tadawul, which is trading. And they convinced everyone that they are actually investing in USD or Euro or, you know, pounds or whatever. So it didn't go promoted as gambling on the price of these currencies. It was promoted as actually buying these currencies and, you know, selling and buying. Now, how did they explain the difference? Like when you actually gamble, you pay 100, you get the leverage of, let's say, 10,000. So you win very fast if you win, or you lose very fast. So any wave going down in that trading curve, you will lose 100 times of that, and eventually you lose your capital. And if you win 100 times of the capital you invested. So in reality, if you buy 100K and the currency goes up, you win 1,000 or 2,000 extra. In Forex, you actually win 1 million if you invest 100K, or lose the whole 100K, which mostly will happen. They drew that Forex business as buying into currency, and that the leverage, which is gambling, is actually funds paid by the company selling you, which also made them more trustworthy. Hey, go invest 100K. I'm covering you for 900, which actually the gambling part. It was very colorful.
Yeah, it sounds it. Yeah.
Understanding the technical parts of, just to, you know, close that topic, understanding the technical parts of that, understanding how things work, the real ownership, allowed me to publicly make more relationships, and allowed me not to be treated like a client. Because when someone in an executive position, CEO, CFO, COO, whatever, tries to talk to me and, you know, play the colorful game, I would say, no, I know how it works. It works like this and that. I know who owns it, who operates it. And of course, all the employees of the, whether it's Israeli company or not, all the employees are Arabs. Some of them know, some of them don't know they work for Israeli companies. The idea behind this wasn't totally, or it was just for money. No one really was trying to hide the fact it's Israeli because of being ashamed or afraid or whatever. But because they know that if they say publicly it's an Israeli company, they wouldn't, not everyone would actually go invest with it. Some would, you know, go under that, we cannot deal with it, Most of them would do that. So all the employees, customer service, sales, speaking people would be Arabs, would be Palestinians, would be Jordanians, would be any part of that.
Yeah. So one question I have as well about the Israelis is how were the Israelis similar or different from what you expected? And how was Israel in your encounters with it similar or different from what you were expecting?
I can't compare myself. As I said, I was lucky to have some good education when I was young, so I wasn't really shocked or mostly about anything. Everything was exactly like I expected it. But to see that face, that other part of that human, if I go to you in any normal situation, aside from this topic, if I go and attack you verbally or whatever, you're gonna attack me back. If I go and show good to you, you have to deal back with me. Same with me. And that goes to your personality. So if you're bad, you're gonna be bad. If you're good, you're gonna be good. It's the passport in your pocket doesn't really change what you are.
Yeah. So I guess it makes sense that you would expect the unexpected because you didn't really have
it. If I could say what I learned from it, not personally, but it gave me a lot of examples. So they were open more about telling me more stories about funny things, about things we do wrong, or my people, if you want to call it that. I don't like saying our people, your people, stuff like that is stupid. But if you, for the sake of the conversation, when they tell me stuff about things done wrongly and I tell them stuff, it opened some conversations, taught us some stuff. And the only thing I learned this is very general, very about all humans mostly. Everyone is related to some part of identity or something. Okay, that's fine. Myself, I like to have a universal law. Like if it's good for you and good for me, that's fine. If it's bad for you and me, that's still justice. But let's stick with the identity thing. I noticed if you start, like if I talk about our problems only, people are more receptive. So, and that's a discussion thing, psychological thing. If you start by saying your problems, you wouldn't find people as much as receptive. So you have to, be real. You have to say things the way they are. Now, many people wouldn't actually say what they think or what they discuss in private conversations. Like, this is definite. When you're sitting, if you don't know who I am, and you could be, not you, but someone could be more critical. When they know who you are, they become more, how do I say it? Cautious, more cautious about what they say. What I didn't do that. I never did that. I said things the way they are. If you do, you get the real reaction. Why should I lie to get a fake compliment? I will know myself, I will know in my heart that this is a fake compliment because it's based on something I faked. And same thing, I wouldn't want to get fake aggression or fake, I just say things the way they are. This way, if you find someone more receptive to what you're talking about, then you can continue in a constructive conversation. And this is a method not everyone uses, but it went good. It went fine by me, whether in business or politics or whatever, except in some communities. But again, I knew that this led me to the facts or decisions I made afterwards why I didn't want to live in those communities.
Yeah. So on that note, how did you end up leaving and coming to the United States?
Okay, around the end, we're talking 2016, maybe 17. I started expanding, doing some partnerships in nightlife. First, I operated a small Middle Eastern nightclub, but I didn't like the atmosphere because I personally like more, mixed English music. So I decided that I have to open one. I opened one called, the concept was funny. I wanted to for it to be sarcastic. So my pub was called At Work. And the advertisement was, where are you? I'm at work, which is technically the pub. After the pub, it went off fine. I started doing some business in that field. Then some real estate related to that. Then, without going into, I don't want to spend a discussion about the business itself. I want to go about the important stuff. When that kicked off very publicly, there started the threatening, the conspiracy, stuff like that, because you have to pay your dues. For a short while, I did do that. And also, sorry, and this is very important, I also did my gaming company. I expanded in the legal parts in gift cards. So doing gift cards allowed me to have technically a branch or a relationship or a reseller in almost every part, whether in Lebanon or in the Middle East. I did that technically. I wasn't the first in this thing. I was the first in Lebanon. I was the first in some countries, but in Saudi Arabia and Emirates, there was people, but still I was a good competitor. Now, what did I learn from going deep into all these communities and dealing with everyone? That everywhere there's call it family lord, militia, political government, political party. Someone has popularity in each area. Someone has grounds. And to keep your business running in each area, you have to pay your dues. How? Some would come nicely to you, offer you partnerships, Godfather-like, an offer you cannot refuse. Some of them will come more bluntly and say, you need protection in this area. And say, protection from who? From the people who's gonna come and destroy your business, which they will send if you don't pay. You've seen it in the movies, it's real. You've seen it maybe in some parts in in DC Comics, maybe in Marvel, in Daredevil, whatever. But in reality, it is how things work. More decent, more manipulative. Sometimes they really come, you think, oh, this is awesome. They come offer you, hey, we're gonna cover you with money, protection, connections and stuff. This is all just, a bait to lure you in. Once you go in business with these people, you do not own the business anymore. You're just puppet. You're the idea, you're whatever, but you're actually making money for them. I reached a point literally where I could make 100K, but actually keep 10K. 90K would go in bribes. Now, this is it sounds like a weird decision, but again, think of it this way. Do I make the 10,000? I'm talking per week or per month at worst case. I'm talking 10,000 to 20,000 per week. Do I make that money and, have my eyes wide shut about the other 90? Or do I take it down just, so I don't make them profit? It's not an easy decision. But after a little before the financial crash in Lebanon, I was actually, I got a fabricated, what do you call it? Accusation of treason. How? That's being dealing with Israelis. At the time, I really wasn't. Like, I don't really have business relationships with the Israelis. I did my business. Of course, every company has Israelis or Jewish or Palestinians or Arabs. So if you want to take everyone in jail, no Lebanese, no expat Lebanese would be out of this law. Technically, every company has someone, so they could, and they did tell me in that investigation that, yeah, in reality, we do not apply the law, because if we apply it, everyone have to go in jail. So I said, why did you apply it on me? This is how things work all the time. This is, maybe we talked about my treason charge for 10 minutes. All the other time we're talking about my money. Where's my money? How do I deal with money? Because the people who fabricated the charge, which were directly involved with the Hezbollah and had influence, that if we fabricate such charge, we control the business. Now, of course, they deny that, but I had clear letters about it. I had money demands of how much before I got charged, and I had demands of partnerships before that happened. But when I refused, this happened. They went to their Hezbollah allies, which are very low level, but still low level are the ones who do most of the dirty work. So they go to the higher level and convince them, hey, we have a traitor amongst us. So they pick me up, and actually I was raided like, it's funny, I got over 40 people raiding my house and my office. They took everything. Of course, they found nothing. After that, I spent maybe 23 days, being questioned from place to place. One of the funny things I also learned, by default, I did have a lot of numbers that start with 972, the Israeli extension, which actually belonged to Arabs, Palestinians, people I know. That was also illegal. I said, how? So how do I talk with people I know? I still have family, I still have people. They said, yeah, but they could be working with the Mossad, and you could be communicating through them, so we could charge you. These are some of the laws they can use against you when they want to. So, long story short, I did have people outside. I ended up paying like 150K in bribes to get cleared of something I didn't do. But I had to play the game, so I had to pay it. After that, of course, I'm still free to continue my business. I can go there. I'm not charged with anything. Of course, I'm cleared. Even if they want to charge me for what I'm saying now, having enough money means I'm going to be clear. That's how things work. I decided, now I got, angrier, but still things got more clearer to me. Like, if you want to fight, you can't do what I did. And I can't tell people to do that. Like, hey, give up money, but have some respect to yourself. Do what you think is right. If you really think Israel is an enemy, do that. You're fine. I honestly accept people who actually believe what they are saying, because you can argue those people. You can find somewhere to either convince them or they convince you. But what I can't understand or I can't argue are hypocrites. As I said, everything I was charged with is exactly what they do. Exactly. Even they actually do it. They do it better, clearer, more publicly, in more protective manners. They have the government, they run the show, they run everything. So that's when I decided, no, I could give up the money. I don't care. I made it. I didn't inherit any of this. So I can let go of things and do it again. They can't. They don't have the brains for it. So why fund them? This is how I started thinking. Now, should have done that earlier? Of course, I should. But again, sometimes you have to make it. And another example, I would say, playing on the laws, like there's an upcoming election in Lebanon. Like every time, they're gonna pay everyone to get their votes. What I say is, fine, you wanna take the money, take it and vote whatever you want. What, now you're super moral, you take the bribe, but you have to abide by what you did. It's stupid. Like you could take a bribe, but you're not gonna lie about it. You already took the bribe, you're already corrupt. But still, you can take the bribe and still go fix the situation and vote for whatever you want. People don't do that. It's like, hey, I have some morals. I get the bribe, I vote for it. So I did the reverse in my situation. Once I made it, I decided, no, why should I still, make money, but at the same time, I have to make everyone money? No, I don't need to do that. I can be here, do whatever I want, and no one has to illegally, extort money from me. If you have something illegal I'm doing, go for it. You have the law, and it's gonna be eventually applied. Right after I did that, maybe after my decision in few months, the actual financial crisis happened, and the money I had left in the Lebanese banks and the companies I had left also crashed, which I didn't have a tear for. I don't care. I'm happy, actually. Somehow I'm happy, because it wasn't going for the people, or for some people you like. It was going for, same corrupt level of officials.
Yeah. So I could see that. Yeah. How you won out. So how would you say the US compares in your experience with the US?
Okay. When I landed here, I had, a very, very better image about this, but they still do have a lot of problems, except they apply for everyone. Like, we pretend we don't have freedom of speech. In USA, we also don't have freedom of speech, but it's more, how do you describe it? It's more like it has a different color, different looks for it, different wording, different phrasing. I don't know the expression. Like, I also here cannot express everything I want. Yes, I can say it, I can speak it about someone. I can compare it though with the political correctness thing. Like, hey, if I'm Jewish, I could laugh and make jokes about the Jewish people. And if I'm Palestinian, I'll be anti-Semitic. That's stupid, because still I have the boundary. If I'm free, if I have freedom of speech, I could criticize you, criticize myself, criticize everyone. That's my opinion. Now, of course, it's still nicer, because you might, trash me on Twitter or whatever, but still, I'm not going to go to jail for that opinion. So it's still better. I'm just saying it's different. It's not what I expected. It's like, if I want to criticize, I want to criticize. It doesn't mean like, hey, oh, but you have a darker skin. Where are you from? Or you have a white skin, you're white. Or there's still stereotypes. There's still minorities, issues, everything just in a different color. That's one. In business, I also learned it's not really, by chance, the only contract I signed here in the States, I signed few contracts with my lawyer and everything was revised perfectly. One of the contracts, and just to teach me a lesson, I didn't tell my lawyer about it. I just signed it. It happened to have the clause not about finishing the work, about just hours. They're gonna spend hours doing the work. So, and this happened to be a popular scam. It's actually tech company. I hired them to do something, and they didn't deliver. So I started nagging, breaking the contracts. So I'm negotiating, and they still charging me for, they are technically they pretend they are working or revising. I ended up paying around $12,000 or $10,000 to cover for a company I didn't fight for. Now, the only good thing about having some power in a corrupt city, if I was back in the Middle East and in the same situation and someone scammed me, I would run them to the ground. Here, they scammed me legally. So that's the only downside. There's a lot of legal stuff here, but there's a lot of loopholes that are stupid, plain stupid. As I said, freedom of speech, legal scams, stuff like that, still way better. But you asked me, what did I expect? I over expected. I expected some sort of perfection. It wasn't true. I'm back to reality. I went back to reality very fast, but still, you know, it's way better than the Middle East. No comparison. Not perfect, but no comparison.
Yeah. So as a last question before we have it more open, do you have any thoughts about how the Middle East, the countries that you've seen, and or the US could take tangible, realistic steps to do better?
There's a lot of ideas. There's a lot of money being spent, and this is something we cannot get a say in. None of us actually knows what's happening. We pretend to know. We pretend to see stuff, and we will argue about stuff I've seen and I can confirm happening. Like, hey, why are you spending a lot of money on fake projects, you know, like USAID?
Yeah.
USAID does a lot of projects and funds in the Middle East. None of them I know. I always hear, hey, I see the news like they funded this project, that project. And I think most of the projects are just a way to funnel the money to someone else. Everything that goes into the Middle East as donations or funding or projects is almost fake. It goes to someone who knows someone under that organization, and the money is split. Nothing happens. Fine, that could happen for a year, 2 years, 3 years. It's been happening for over 25 years. So why are you still funding them? You asked me how do they pretend to fight terrorism. Look, I don't believe they are. Like, if you are, why are you funding the same government you say it's backed by terrorists or actually made from the terrorists, according to your definition? They are resistance to some, but to you. I'm talking about the hypocrisy. All the time I talk about the hypocrisy in the Middle East. If you want to talk about the US, no one knows what's really happening in the administration. One thing I know for sure, it's nothing good. Or they are being super idiots, or they are just, you know, having their share of the money that's being spent there. There's no other solution. But to tell me they don't know that their money is going to weapons and going to make some people rich, doesn't make sense. They want to change it. They should, one, have more transparency in the project they cover or fund. They have to do projects themselves, like, hey, I want to feed the refugees. You know, like right now they send, let's say, and this is unpopular opinion, but thank you, Trump. Trump is someone who's very aggressive, very sometimes very stupid, sometimes genius. I couldn't decide. But when he cut off the funds, saying it's going to the wrong direction and it's not helping anyone, I was like, hey, this is a genius. This is someone who sees the truth. Then he does something stupid on the other hand. So I don't know, like he decided, hey, let's do the two-state solution, but he actually made two cities that cannot be connected. And he want to spend $50 billion of the US money to the two-state solution, but finalize it, make it somehow, you know, receivable. 50 billion can make you build another country with 50 billion. Also, like, you want to do the US embassy in somewhere very provocative. Why? It's an embassy. It's a political place. It's not like we're asking to move Jerusalem or some place holy. It's a political place. Do it anywhere that's not provocative to anyone. You want people to support you, but you want to provoke them and stupid stuff. It's an embassy. It's just a political building. Why do you have to build it? Like in all the places in Israel, he decided to build it in the only controversial place. That's stupid. That's not genius. Back to the US funds. So they send all that money. They don't ask where it is. Only Trump decided to cut it. And then that's something good, but it also backfired on us because, some countries which host the refugees, the Palestinian refugees, are actually silent about it. They complain publicly and silent about us because they need to keep us, because they used to get funds from UN per person. And of course, they publicly say we have 700 to 750,000 Palestinians in Lebanon. In reality, it's less than 270. But people, let's say like me and my family, we have over 15 people who emigrated, are still registered in Lebanon because it used to suit the numbers, to exaggerate the numbers, so they get paid on the numbers they declare, not the actual numbers in Lebanon. Same thing is happening with the Syrian refugees. There's no doubt Syrian refugees flooded Lebanon, Jordan, and Turkey, right? No doubt. They even got to Germany, they got to Sweden, Denmark, everywhere. But imagine even Germany counted everyone and said it's 1 million. But when it comes to Lebanon, Lebanon is a very small country. If you say you have 2 millions, that's technically saying between me and my wife, there's one Syrian, because the whole Lebanese community is 4 million. And they declare and get paid for 2 million Syrians in Lebanon, which is not true. Maybe they have 500,000. And if I want to be super generous and unrealistic, I would say 1 million. But they declare 2 million. And you want to tell me that, hey, the American administration believes it's 2 million and the UN sent them aids for 2 million people. Yeah. Everything is corrupt.
Yeah. So that is very interesting, very insightful. Thank you for giving this very interesting talk. I think that the viewers...
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I think that the viewers of this have and will get a lot out of this presentation. A lot of them, I think, are unfamiliar with these political dynamics. Some of them are more familiar and they want to see your angle. You are someone who was particularly successful in it. And so that kind of perspective as well is very valuable. So I'm going to turn off the recording, and I hope everyone here enjoyed and learned a lot from this video. Thank you for tuning in. And so I'm going to turn off the recording and open the floor to an open discussion.